66 million years ago, Earth didn't just change, it screamed. A rock the size of a small city was flying through space at 43,000 miles per hour. A bullet fired from a rifle travels at roughly 1,700 miles per hour. The asteroid was moving 25 times faster than a bullet. It could circle the entire Earth in roughly 35 minutes. When it hit Earth, it didn't just make a big explosion. It triggered a chain of disasters so horrific that 3/4 of all life on the planet was wiped out. And the dinosaurs, creatures that had ruled the Earth for 165 million years, were about to face their end. But here's the thing nobody tells you. It wasn't instant, because some dinosaurs may have actually survived. Not for a few hours, not for a few weeks, but possibly for hundreds of thousands of years after that asteroid hit. Today we're going to answer one of the most fascinating questions in science. How long did the dinosaurs actually hold on? And the answer might genuinely surprise you. Let's start at the beginning. Because a lot of people assume that dinosaurs were already dying out before the asteroid even showed up. Like they were already weak, already struggling, just waiting for something to finish them off. That's actually mostly a myth. When that asteroid arrived, dinosaurs were doing really well. Scientists estimate there may have been over 1,000 different dinosaur species alive at the time. Think about that. 1,000 different kinds. You had duck-billed hadrosaurs moving in enormous herds across North America and Asia, arguably the most successful large plant eaters on the entire planet. You had triceratops thriving. You had T-Rex and its relatives at the very top of the food chain, at the peak of their power. These weren't animals on their last legs. These were animals completely in control of their world. And then, in what is basically a blink of an eye in Earth's history, something came from space and changed everything. Now here's where things get really intense, because the asteroid didn't kill dinosaurs in just one way. It killed them in layers, like a series of disasters hitting one after another, each one worse than the last. The first few minutes, the asteroid slams into the Yucatan Peninsula in what is now Mexico. The shockwave is so powerful it punches through the Earth's crust. The ground shakes so violently that earthquakes roll outward across the entire planet. Massive tsunamis, not waves but walls of water, surge outward and swallow coastlines whole. It's happening in the sky. The impact throws trillions of tons of rock and debris so high up that it actually leaves the atmosphere. And then it comes back down. All of it, superheated, glowing, raining back onto Earth like a global hailstorm of fire. The sky literally becomes a ceiling of heat. The air temperature spikes to oven levels. Anything living out in the open, any dinosaur that can't burrow underground or hide underwater, begins to cook. Not as a metaphor, actually cook. From the outside in. Forests across the planet don't slowly catch fire. They explode into flames. Some scientists believe a huge portion of the world's forests burned within the first day. For millions of dinosaurs, especially in the Americas where the asteroid hit, the first hours are the last hours. But here's the important part. Not all of them died that day. Earth has hiding places, wet marshes, deep river valleys, dense forests where the fires couldn't reach as fast, high latitude regions far from the blast. In these pockets, some dinosaurs survived the first wave of destruction. They crawled out of hiding. They looked around at a world covered in ash and fire and smoke, and they had no idea the worst was still coming. The second wave, the impact winter, all that soot, all that dust, all those tiny particles from pulverized rock and burned forests, they float up into the upper atmosphere and spread across the entire planet like a blanket. And they block out the sun. Not for a few days. Scientists believe this darkness could have lasted for years. Global temperatures may have dropped by around 20 degrees Celsius. That's not a cold winter. That's a frozen nightmare with no end in sight. Without sunlight, plants can't grow. Without plants, plant-eating dinosaurs have nothing to eat. Without plant eaters, meat-eating dinosaurs have nothing to hunt. The entire food chain collapses, from the very bottom to the very top. This is called the impact winter, and it might have been the deadliest part of the whole disaster. So how long could any surviving dinosaur actually last through all of this? The conservative answer from most scientists is not very long at all. In places like Montana and the Dakotas, we have rock formations called the Hell Creek Formation that preserve the end of the dinosaur era in remarkable detail. Below a certain layer of rock, the layer that marks the asteroid impact, you find dinosaur fossils everywhere. Above that layer, almost nothing. Scientists call this the 3-meter gap. Some scientists think carnivores might have been the last ones standing. Right after the impact, there would have been an enormous amount of dead animals everywhere, a feast of carcasses. Meat eaters could have fed without even needing to hunt. But that feast had an expiration date. Once the carcasses were gone, once the plant eaters all starved, the meat eaters had nothing left. Some estimates suggest dust and aerosols could have sustained the impact winter long enough, perhaps 15 years or more, that any surviving population simply couldn't recover. In these versions of the story, the last dinosaur doesn't go out with a roar. It just quietly starves in the dark, in the cold, alone. Some researchers point out a pretty important problem with the fossil record. It's incredibly incomplete. So the absence of dinosaur fossils above the boundary layer doesn't automatically mean dinosaurs weren't there. Some scientists have proposed that small isolated populations of dinosaurs could have survived for thousands of years after the impact. One estimate goes as far as roughly 33,000 years. Now imagine what those dinosaurs might have looked like. Probably smaller, because smaller bodies need less food. In a region called the San Juan Basin, which covers parts of Colorado and New Mexico, researchers have reported finding dinosaur fossils in rock layers that date to the Paleocene, roughly 500,000 years after the asteroid hit. Now, to be fair, the mainstream scientific community is very skeptical of these claims. The biggest argument against them is reworking, older fossils getting carried into younger layers. So officially, what does science actually accept as the last dinosaur? The answer comes from the Hell Creek Formation. Triceratops and Edmontosaurus have been found in layers dating to within roughly the last 40,000 years of the Cretaceous period. These animals were completely healthy, completely normal. They had absolutely no idea what was coming. What did survive? The small things, the flexible things, and most importantly, birds. The dinosaurs never fully disappeared. One small feathered lineage made it through the darkness. Today there are over 10,000 species of them alive on Earth. The dinosaurs didn't die, they just changed.